broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Okay, I hear it. I just want to make sure the music was playing. We had a cool, do you remember the name of the person who...
It's Cindy. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you for the music suggestion. We are here for Real Housewives again. Full panel tonight. We go from one extreme to the other. There's either 2 of us or 9 of us. So I'm Ashley Daniels here with a familiar face again to my right and your left, Alexis Bellino.
Hello. Where am I looking this time?
You've right there. Okay. We got you right there.
They move me all around. It's a full house today.
I know. Yes, we've been playing musical chairs. And my beautiful panel. Want to introduce yourself, starting with Megan.
Hi guys, it's Megan Stecher.
Fern Ronay here.
Lyndsey Wegner.
Awesome. I love this episode. I thought it was a great episode. Once again, I can see why this season has been so high with the ratings, and I mean, it has a lot to do with Bethenny, but it also just has a lot to do with just these people just having the ability to really speak their minds more so than a lot of other franchises. They really don't care about hurting people's feelings. I mean, I guess they all don't in some sense.
Is that New York, though? You're from there?
I don't know. I feel like what I love about New York is no one rips each other's hair out. Nobody ever gets into physical fight. They just like lay it out. They just, So that's what I love about New York. Yeah, they're just so real. They just like say it.
Yeah. I think it's an East Coast thing for sure.
Yeah.
Because I'm no, I'm just kidding. Boston,
From the East Coast.
Exactly. But first, before we recap, because Alexis is always so kind to drive 3 hours to help us every season
It's
recapping
not kind.
New
I was
York.
stuck on the freeway. What am I going to do? Turn around?
She's like, can I turn around? No, honey.
I'm kidding.
You know what? Friendship's over. I'm sitting with them. But tell us just for all your fans that are like, oh my God, it's Alexis. What's going on with you?
Well, okay, I have a new project. I know I say this, but it is something super exciting. It has to do with fashion. I will come talk to you another time about that when everything's wrapped up. Right now, we're just traveling a lot. Like, we're leaving for Hawaii in 2 days. We're going on trips the whole summer. And I am just so busy as a mom. I do not understand. My heart goes out to full-time moms who work full-time. It really does. Because right now, I'm in the car. I'm a taxi cab. That's my
How old are the kids now? You've got 3, right? The twins.
My twins are 7 and my son is 9.
Oh my gosh.
But the way their activities are all different. It's just chaos. My house is complete chaos at all times of the day.
And you have another Sky Zone you're opening?
And we just opened our 3rd, and now we're opening our 4th.
Yeah,
so
that's crazy.
Yes, we're
Congratulations.
very
That's
busy with
amazing.
that. Yes, thank you.
And Jim's doing well, obviously.
Well, he's pulling his hair out too, but it's in a good way. He's on a golf course right now.
And we heard a little rumor you had a 10-carat ring for the 10 years. Why not? Why not?
That was a really
I think that's
big
amazing.
surprise.
That's great. I'll brag for you.
I
was
was to pick
amazing.
it up today from getting sized, so I could have showed it off to
Well,
you.
it's good you didn't bring it because I would have ended up stealing it. But where's Ashley? She's long gone, guys. She's already 2 states ahead. All right. Well, congratulations on everything in 10 years. You guys have such a great marriage, and and we miss you. I mean, just in general, and we need you back on TV, obviously.
Oh, thanks.
But back to another Housewives franchise, the New York Housewives. Okay, lots to cover tonight. I wanted to start first with Carol and the gummy bear. So as we all know, and for anybody who's listening that didn't watch the full episode, Carol is talking about the guy that she's dating. His name's Adam, and he is 29.
They like him young.
They like them younger and younger every season. And somehow at this party that she's telling Heather about, she had a gummy bear and started tripping and threw up. And she says that men that are younger don't get grossed out by stuff like that. Do you guys agree that younger guys don't get grossed out by something like throwing up all over them?
No.
Okay. And I know you were very verbal during this screening.
I did. I shouted out. That is not true. I think that guys do like ladies to be a lady. But I'm wondering for Adam if it's kind of... He's attracted to her, but she's so much older that it's kind of like he was looking after her as if that were his mom that were sick. Like, it's not just some young girl and he's like, she'll be fine in the bathroom throwing up alone. Like, he held her hair for her because Maybe he thought she's an older woman. I need to help her out. Maybe in the back of his mind, that's what was going on.
Maybe.
I'll take the other side because I had food poisoning about a month ago, and I had been on a date, and the guy actually was like texting me and sending me cute little videos and stuff, and was like, I feel really bad. Like, don't worry, you can tell me what's going on. I'm not grossed out by these things. And I was like, oh my God, this is so nice. He's so sweet about the whole thing. Meanwhile, he wasn't with me, so he didn't have to be grossed out by it, but he was still very like supportive via text message.
We do know that Adam did stay over that night, or
he stayed over that night, didn't leave the next day.
I guess it depends on the guy. Like, he just happens to be a guy who's not that grossed out.
Have to do with cameras, though. The cameras are there. He's trying to look like the good sport.
Well, he wasn't on the camera,
They didn't show it on camera.
They never showed it on camera. He was talking about it. So yeah, maybe. But you know what? You're right. Maybe cameras were there and they taped it, but they edited the scenes. So that's what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, you're saying that they were probably taping during that time. They just edited it out anyway.
So he didn't want to look like a jerk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and be
if
like
that were
the
the case,
boyfriend.
That's a good point.
You know,
very good point.
Or whatever.
Very good point. If that were the case, yeah. I mean, I was, and you know, it's funny you say that because a lot of these new guys, like Luann's dating, not Luann. I'm sorry, Sonia's dating a younger guy, Dominic, as well, and I kept thinking to myself, they're not stupid. These guys look like they're aspiring models or whatever, and they're in their 20s. They're living in New York. They're probably bartending or doing some, like, you know, they're probably hustling to make $1. And, like, it's, you know, good for them. They're young. Why not be on TV? Get some exposure. But I'm sure it's also fun being with them.
But the question is if these women are really looking for something serious. And it sounds like Carol, as she kind of states, she's kind of like, she's talking about falling in love, even if she's not really saying she's falling in love with this one yet. She's talking about that. If they're really thinking that this is serious, they can't. Can you honestly be thinking that? When these kids are, I literally say kids.
Yeah.
Because they're 24 years old. And they're models. Like, they're obviously trying to benefit themselves in their career.
The thing that shocked me was Sonia just met this guy the night before. So she's kissing him on the mouth as if they're so familiar and have been dating.
You're talking about last week when they were kissing on the mouth, or are you talking about this week?
This week.
Okay,
so at Bethany's birthday party, they had just met the night before at Boutique.
The Boutique,
yeah.
Exactly.
So I don't know. How funny. And he got his friend right in there, right on camera. He's brought his +2.
Yeah, I would be a little leery too. If she's like really looking for a relationship, I would be like, I don't know if this guy, what his intentions are.
I think men always have a certain intention.
I do too. I think that it's not as gross on Sonia's part. She's dating a hot younger guy, but how can this guy actually be attracted, that's 24, attracted to someone that's double his age?
I mean, they're hot, but it's some guys just maybe, you know, there's some people who have fetishes, foot fetishes. Cougar fetishes.
She's probably older than his mom, though,
I mean,
to be honest.
I'm sure she's. You know what?
I love her. I think she's a great.
I don't think men ever can say no matter what age, to things like that. I'm guessing.
I never dated anyone younger. Like, I wouldn't even go a year younger.
Yeah.
Like, that's not my thing. I like older.
yeah. Well, it takes a lot of time for men.
The age, right? Like 65 when you're
Well, like a 20-year-old man is really like a 10-year-old man. Like, I feel like it takes 10 years for men to catch up.
Yes.
I mean, Jim's older, but like he's so mature, so it makes like good. Like,
but we're 15 years apart, so and that's pushing it. That's a lot.
That is older.
You know, but
he looks so good though. He's
not double my age. I can't imagine being with someone 72 right now.
Right.
I'm sure you can make anybody look good, even a 72-year-old. Okay, so anyway, so back to Carol. She had the gummy bear. She's discussing this with Heather, and she mentions that Adam used to date Luann's niece. We remember Luann's niece from years ago when they went to a bar one night. Do you guys find it weird that Carol's okay dating a person that used to date Luann's niece? Because Luann's niece is like in her 20s. Or is it just they're not that close?
I mean, if you got it, go for it. If he likes her, then go for it with him. And I think that he sincerely likes her too. I think it's a slippery slope, and she should be telling Luann as soon as possible. Well, but then I get the whole idea that wait until there's actually something to tell her. If it's continuing and she's going to continue seeing him, wait till they're actually like, well, we're kind of boyfriend and girlfriend.
It's on camera.
We didn't expect this to happen. We didn't know this was going to happen.
Yeah.
I can understand Luann being grossed out because she's probably like, my niece is like my daughter, and you're like dating my daughter's ex-boyfriend. Yeah. It's just like it's just icky. But if this is the guy that makes Carol happy, then I guess she'll have to get used to it. But I don't know. It's a little icky.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where, I mean, we have to all feel happy for Carol that she's finding some happiness, being that she's, obviously her husband had passed away. And so it's good to see her happy. I'm sure Luann, because Luann is maturing, she's a lot more mature than she was a few seasons ago. I think she can find... I don't think she'll get too hung up over it. I think it will initially upset her, as we saw later on in the previews, but we'll talk about that later. All right. Then we have Bethenny getting ready for her birthday in her hotel. Interesting that the birthday was a happy moment for her because, as we know from Bethenny from years ago, she didn't really like to celebrate her birthday, and it was kind of a sad day for her. But
I think she
was
grown
happy.
a lot, though. You can tell this season she's grown a lot.
Yeah.
She's I feel like she's not a different person, but a different person.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a lot of different things that have happened to her, and I think she's trying to make the best of it. And in this sense, she really had fun. So I think it was interesting. She threw birthday. You know, she doesn't have to worry about financial issues anymore, and she doesn't. It's just it's a new beginning for her. And I'm glad. I was really happy to see her happy. And during that birthday, she does say that this is the happiest she's ever been.
So that's hard to believe because I think having a baby and having a husband that you thought was going to work out was probably the happiest you've ever been. I think she just went through such a bad time that now she feels happy again. So maybe she shouldn't have said happiest I've ever been.
She said she's ever been, right?
I think so.
I didn't
write it down, but I think
okay, I could have sworn she said that. If not, she said she was really happy.
But I was
we'll have to go
thinking the
back.
same thing.
I could have
was
sworn
like,
she
Jason
said
is probably
happy she's
watching
ever
this,
been.
being like, "Didn't we have a baby together? Didn't I throw you a huge birthday party because I love
She's
you?" And you're
probably
like,
saying that just to spite him a little bit too.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean,
I think
unfortunately,
regardless, yeah.
And maybe
That's
she
true.
meant on her actual birthday. Maybe
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
Because remember her 40th birthday, she put on the show, and it was a mess. Her own Bethany's getting married show, and or Bethany Ever After, one or the other. And she had a complete mental breakdown. And I mean, she went and locked herself in the bathroom and cried. I mean, that's a bad
Felt
birthday.
really, really
So to be
bad.
dancing on the table at your birthday, I guess you had a really good one.
Exactly. So just to clarify, we don't know if she said she was the happiest she's ever been. We're gonna have to watch that again. But regardless, she said she was really happy. So we're just making sure because we're gonna get a lot of YouTube comments about that. So we know she was really happy, and rightfully so, and she deserves it.
Yes.
Okay. But we did see during that Dorinda was not there, and Kristen was not there. Now, I know we have maybe you've been on the Housewives once or twice, right?
You might know a little bit about it.
You might know a little bit.
A little bit.
Were you surprised that not everybody was invited to the party? Because we see that a lot, because it adds a lot of tension to the show when something like that happens.
Well, saying it appropriately to where I can say it, a lot of times that's the way they want it to happen. It's not necessarily the castmate that goes, I don't want that person to be here.
Right.
It's just the way it worked out. And so, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If you wink, wink, catch my drift.
I totally understand that. Less is more in that sense. You don't have to say it. We get it. And absolutely, I think it definitely added a little bit of tension. But I think that they did not expect it to go the way it did, which we'll get into. But it was very interesting to see the reactions of Bethenny and Dorinda during that conversation at the end. But they were not there, and still though, Ramona was there. Ramona has now obviously gotten over everything with Bethenny, and they've moved on. Were you guys surprised that Ramona and Bethenny completely got over their argument that quickly?
Surprising.
yes.
I don't know when that happened, but that was quick.
Me either. I wish that was on camera.
Maybe they just had fun that night before at Boutique. They're both single now and having a good time, and Ramona's mingling and Bethenny's mingling. That they just kind of like got drunk and.
I think you have to look at their whole, what has happened in their lives. They both were married. They both had what they thought was a perfect life at that moment, and they both lost their husbands, and they're kind of hit bottom in a little way, in a sense, not financially maybe, but in other ways. And so they probably just look at each other and go, you know what, life's too short. Let's just
Good point.
Let's just pick up and move on.
And maybe there was a dinner or a drinks, on camera where they talked about it and got over it, and maybe it wasn't too exciting and they cut it out.
They'll tell you that. They tell you they probably wouldn't cut that out. I think that no, they wouldn't cut that out. They would make it part of the storyline. So I think it really just happened there.
Okay.
I think it just was, or maybe they made a phone call.
Maybe.
Maybe the producers didn't know about it, but they picked up the phone and said, "Hey, Bethenny, I know you're coming back.
Yeah.
This and that," and then they just kind of got along at the next party.
I feel like there should be something because
it
like
helps the viewers.
missing.
Yeah, the viewer. Yeah, but that's the reality part of it.
Well, shout out to Wendy Shaw, who is tweeting me. I don't know if she's tweeting everyone, but I got some tweets from her saying, like, could you talk a little bit more about when you're talking about things are produced? So, Wendy, that's an example or two of those kinds of things. What gets shown, what doesn't get shown, what's being taped, why, who's there.
That's why we have a lot of those special episodes that will air after the reunions where it's like these are the deleted scenes because there's so much to choose from. They tape so much. correct me if I'm wrong, and then they find the story afterward? Or do they have the story, then they tape?
They do. They tape the whole season, and they think they know the avenue it's going to go, and then I'm sure that they make changes throughout the season. But you definitely tape a lot of hours to get just that one season. And there's a lot of, I love the scene where it's the last scene at the lost footage. I love that. Because it's like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that scene, you know?
Yep, absolutely. So. I really hope they... I want you back on. But whatever. Anyway, I know, right? No, please. You got so much better.
Never say never.
Better things going on. Okay, now this scene is this situation has been really disturbing to me. Seeing Hannah and Dorinda, only because we found out later that Hannah doesn't speak to Dorinda very kindly. Now, Hannah, for anybody who's listening and doesn't remember, Hannah is Dorinda's daughter, and Hannah's not very happy with the fact that Dorinda's dating John, who we all know. He's Armenian, right? Yeah. And he owns the laundry, the high-end laundry place. I don't know. What do you guys feel? I understand as a daughter, I'm sure, having lost your father and everything, I'm sure it's not easy seeing your mother date somebody else. But seeing your mother happy, shouldn't that surpass everything? How do you guys feel about the situation between Hannah and Dorinda?
No, I feel like Hannah has a good read on John not really being a good fit for her mom, and that's why it's such a hot button issue for her, and that's why Dorinda keeps them separate. Because I feel like this is like with Vicky and Vicky's daughter not liking, was it Brooks?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Interesting.
It's like, you kind of get a read on a person, you know they're not the one, but mom really likes them, and I think that's what's happened, and Dorinda's smart to keep them separate. If she wants to continue with John, I think it's smart to keep them separate.
Because I think he's polarizing. He has such a strong personality that might not be everyone's cup of tea, and it's definitely not Hannah's, and I think she just doesn't like him. If he were like more of a normal guy, a little more mainstream, it would be a different story, I think.
She's also, what, 20 or 21? Yeah. So she's at an age where she's going to kind of tell her mom what she wants to do and what she doesn't like. You know, we're a little bit more opinionated at that age.
Yeah.
And talking with our parents. It's like right around the 18 to 21 where you're just getting out, you're going to college, and you're like, I can do what I want. I'm on my own now. I'm going to college. Like, I'm, you know, and you become a little bit snotty.
That part I understand, but I think saying, like, you're disgusting, Mom, and the things we heard, I just feel bad for Dorinda because she's just trying to be happy. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think if Hannah had a choice of her mother being single and probably a little lonely or with John, I think she would, at the end of the day, realize it's better to have your mother happy because when she does come home to you, she's not depressed and she's not, you know, doing things that depressed people do.
She was kind of abrasive in that first episode, too, though. So maybe that's their relationship and their dynamics, so it doesn't really bother Dorinda.
Right.
Maybe there's a button where she can push, like we see later with John and Dorinda, where once he hit that button, she was not having it anymore, and maybe the same thing goes with her daughter. If her daughter hits a certain button, that she's going to kind of snap back.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it's all still new, too. Maybe they're just, you know, it's still taking some time to get used to the whole thing. And backing up to Brooks, by the way, I just have to say he's a great guy. He's a good friend of our family.
Really?
We love him. I've never agreed with one thing that's negative. We all have made mistakes in our past. He is a great guy, and we hang out with him a lot. So I know him better than any of the other housewives on Orange County know him. Jim and him are great friends. He is fighting a really hard battle right now with cancer, and so everyone needs to pray.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, that's so sad.
Amazing guy. And I like Brianna too, but it's really sad.
Yeah. Do you think that the way that they portrayed him was there any glimpse of who you really know in the portrayal of Brooks?
He's a smooth talker, meaning he's a Southern guy. He's got a really sweet charm to him. I think some people think that's phony or think that's being a schmoozer. And, you know, there was the phone call that Brianna was really upset about and said a couple things about, but everybody makes mistakes. He apologized nonstop about it. He had been drinking, and, you know, he took full accountability for some of the actions. So I think you just have to look at full picture. I mean, I can't go through life saying, oh, I've never done anything like that, because we all have. So I don't know.
How is Brianna and her baby?
They're great. She's 2 now.
She's 2 babies?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Her new one's about 6 months now. So and they live in Oklahoma now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So,
and you're still close with Lydia.
Yeah,
and she's wrote a book, right? Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah,
that's so great. And she's had a baby too, right?
She did. I mean, he's 9 months.
Oh my gosh. Babies everywhere in Orange County. Jeez. Well, good for them. Seriously. All right. So for me, I guess with John, and we saw in the next scene, we see Dorinda and John go to dinner. maybe it's just me. But I always say what I think, and I just felt like Dorinda was a little harsh to John, and I actually don't find him. I understand where people can say maybe he's a little bit polarizing, but I actually see him as just a really sweet person who really likes her a lot and is just afraid to get too close because she is very tough. She has a wall up, and she also is very she goes on the defense line even if there's nothing to defend because her daughter is so important to her, which is totally understandable. But did you guys feel whose side were you on at dinner? Were you more on John's side or more on Dorinda's side?
Ooh, that was a tough one. I think he made a lot of great points as far as like, you're putting her number one and I'm never number one. Because her daughter is a young adult now. It's time to let her go and become the adult, and you can't be like mommy all the time. You've raised your child, and now it's time to let her try out adulthood. It's hard because I didn't like the way she talked to him at all. It got really heated really quick, and I was like sweating a little bit watching it. So I'm so on the fence. It just was an uncomfortable situation all around, and I think that they should have paid the check and left when that fight, because they just kept going and it got worse.
Yeah,
I wish Dr. Fran were here because they both said some things that were wrong. Like she said, Richard would never do something like that. Richard would never say something like that. She should never go there. And he was saying you put your daughter first, but none of us have kids, right? None of us have kids.
Alexis has 3 kids.
But Alexis, like, if somebody said, you put your children first, you're supposed to. That's what a mother does. And you should expect, the guy should expect to be second and be happy with it.
Until there's a ring on that finger, she needs to put the kids first.
100%. Absolutely.
You should put your husband first once your children are fed and nourished and all that. You need to put the relationship first, because if you don't, then the kids are going to come from a broken home because you've given all your time and devotion to the children, and the marriage has suffered.
It's a really good point.
In this case, I feel like both of them went way below the belt, and that's not called for at all. And if it starts out before you're even married in that whole zone, it's only going to get worse from there, because once you lose that respect, it's going to keep going down, in my opinion. But I would plead the fifth on that. I don't think I could choose a side on either of those. I think there's fault in both. And
100%. I agree with you. That was a really good point. I do think that Dorinda should have probably backed off just a little bit and understood that. And the same, imagine being in John's shoes and not being able to go over your girlfriend's house. You've been with her for 2 years, and like you can't really, the daughter doesn't like you. It must be, imagine just, we all know what it feels like if we have a boyfriend whose mother doesn't like us. Imagine if like your girlfriend's daughter doesn't like you, or your boyfriend's daughter doesn't like you. It must be really hard to swallow that and to try to go forward and maybe put a ring on somebody when you know that you're not accepted by everybody in the family. So it's a tricky situation.
This is 2 weeks in a row that we've seen them kind of argue at lunch or dinner. Last week it was uncomfortable, and I felt like she was out of line. You shouldn't have taken the phone call, but she was out of line for getting that upset about it. My gosh, get over it. Life is way too short to be that upset. But at the same time, it's work. It can wait. This situation tonight, I feel like she picked a fight, and then he just kind of kept pushing it. And wasn't being mean about it, but would just kind of throw something like, maybe you should call your daughter. And then she's going to come back and be claws out because she's getting defensive. So I felt like it was kind of both of them, but I feel like she was genuinely being mean.
That was a good point. Maybe part of it was from some aggravation from the fight before. Like, they still haven't worked through all those emotions yet. And here they are in another restaurant, and another fight piles on top of that, and then you're acting for those past feelings.
I felt like we had a flashback of Kristen and Josh from last season.
Oh,
did you guys feel like that?
Yes. That was like the first time we met Kristen,
remember,
wasn't it?
Like, we felt like it was like that awkward tension right away, and that's when I told you guys, I don't know if I like Kristen because she's like making this, and that's what I kind of said last time. I was like, let's wait on Dorinda till we have a couple episodes, and I'm getting that same kind of like feeling from her where I don't know if I'm gonna like her. Hopefully it comes back like it did with Kristen, but like.
Speaking of Kristen, I'd like to know how you guys thought she handled the news that she received from Heather's phone call that Heather went to a party for Bethenny's birthday and had a lot of fun, and she wasn't invited. So 2 things here. Should Heather have called her and told her? And if so, should Kristen have acted as if she didn't care? Because I mean, anybody would care. I understand what she did, but she said she didn't care, and it didn't bother her. But then she got off the phone and went to her housekeeper and said, would it bother you if you weren't invited?
But she didn't make a big deal about it on the phone with Heather. So unless there was something they cut out that we didn't see her saying, it really bothered her. I mean, yes, you're going to ask somebody's opinion on it. I would ask my girlfriend and be like, would you be upset about this? But at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. And I don't think it seemed like she was really all that super worried about it. That's all we saw for this whole episode was just that one scene. Ladies.
Go ahead, she seemed like her feelings were hurt and she seemed bothered by it. But it didn't seem like the phone call with Heather, like she wanted to blow it up. So it was interesting, and then when Heather had lunch with Bethenny, that she would even bring it up because it didn't seem Kristen wanted to go there. Her feelings were genuinely hurt, but she didn't want to blow it up.
Yes. I just find it interesting with Heather being in the middle of all of this because it's like first she called Kristen to be like, oh, FYI, just so you know, you were like the only one that wasn't there. And then she decided to go to Bethenny and say, I just wanted you to know Kristen was upset, even though Kristen kind of played it off like, no, I'm not.
Okay, so before we get into that, because that's something I want to ask, did you think that, do you feel like you would feel upset if she doesn't really know Bethenny, obviously, but she wasn't invited to the birthday that almost everybody else was invited to except the new girl, Dorinda. Do you think she should have been upset, or do you think that it's...
I mean, I just have learned so much. I mean, I'm only 38, but I feel like I've learned so much in life that, like, that is not something that's going to personally bother me. Okay. I have enough friends. I have a group of friends. I'm not out looking for new friends and new hangouts. If it was one of my good group of friends that I got along with really well and I wasn't excluded, that's one thing. But when it's the situation it was, I just would be like, I just need to take her to coffee and get to know her better, and I'll be invited to the next party.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I mean,
much better outlook on
I definitely, I think that's years and years of, like, literally, like, the way that people were just so mean to you, just going you're so
maybe you just like learn
like
to,
a lot of strength. You just like now you're like, okay, nothing bothers
as long
me.
As my kids are alive.
Exactly.
I'm walking. We're good.
Exactly. I think you gained a lot of strength. But okay, so I want to go into what you said at Megan, because what are we missing? Are we missing anything? Because that's a really good scene.
Well, we saw ping pong with Carol.
Okay. Yes, so we had ping pong with Adam and Carol. Just a fun little scene. I don't think there's much to recap with that. It was really cute.
And they're having sex.
I think we are. I kind of knew that already. I just sensed it. Were you guys surprised?
As I sit here and cover my face.
No, I wasn't.
Okay, I wasn't surprised at all. I think I kind of got that in the sense that when she said he stayed over the night that she threw up, that it was probably some sex going on. Like,
I don't even like to think
some
about
throw up sex. It's like that scent doesn't leave you unless you take a really good shower. So he's good for him. Like he just probably plugged his nose.
I think they're really cute together.
You do.
I do. I think they're cute together, and I think he really likes her. Them riding away on his bike, like I felt like I was watching like a 50s movie.
It was
cute.
The most
adorable little like I wanted to see like a heart shape around them as they rode off into the sunset together.
Totally.
I think she's having so much fun, so that makes me excited for her.
Yeah.
She seems genuinely happy.
Yeah. I think that's all that matters. But I don't know if it's going to last a long time. I hope it does. But it just seems like someone at that age in their 20s. They're going to be, I mean, he's not, I don't think he knows what exclusivity is or he really cares to know what that is.
Well, you better find out because she's probably not going to share.
Yeah, probably not. I don't think she would. I don't know. She's got kind of like a hippie thing about her where she's a little bit like, whatever. But at the same time, I think it would bother her if she saw him with somebody else. Mm-hmm.
Especially a 26-year-old or 18-year-old hottie.
Exactly. Okay, so... we do have Peter, I don't know how to say his last name, I mean, it must be Greek, Gamarius. He's the restaurateur that is going to be working with Ramona. I Googled his name, and not saying this is 100% accurate because it was one of those sites, like Radar, one of those sites, but it said that he used to date somebody that was dating Mario. The
girl that Mario left Ramona for?
Or so that he kissed her or something. So I'm going to put the link on the YouTube site for you guys to take a look at it. It was actually written last May, but interesting, especially because this was filmed in, I think we said around like fall. Mm-hmm. But this guy, Peter, I don't know if we're going to see more of him. He seems like he has a little bit of drama going on with him. The fact that he may have had some type of something going on with Mario's mistress.
Oh, that's exactly what they love to bring into the show, though.
But you never know. This could all be, how many fake things have been written about you? I can't even imagine, right? I mean, it's like, so I hate to even give it anything until we all do a little more investigating. Because we were Googling it last minute. I want to make sure. But again, if you guys know anything about this, comment and let us know. Tweet us. tweet us. Okay. Here comes the part that was a little bit. It was the end scene, but it was very uncomfortable to watch. We first see Dorinda and Bethenny. So Heather has this little dinner that she invites Dorinda, Bethenny, and Carol. The first two to get there are Dorinda and Bethenny, and they're bonding over sale item. They're finding out there's a big sale, and Bethenny loves sales, and they both love to not buy things full price. Bethenny didn't lose that part about her. She still shops, smart.
Girlfriend, she buys some full price items.
I'm sure she does.
Her bubble there. But.
I'm sure she does. I saw Birkins and Celine bags and all that good stuff too. I'm sure. And she's staying at the penthouse at one of the most exclusive New York hotels, living there basically. So yeah, but still, she's a little bit relatable still. Or she's trying to be, and I'm going to give her that, right? So, what did you guys think of what Megan had just briefly brought up when we find out that Heather? Heather finds out that she was a +2 to Bethenny's birthday. She was not actually invited. Now, for me, I have to say I did respect that Bethenny was totally honest because she does not sugarcoat anything, as she says. And she made it very clear that she doesn't want to hear anything that has to do with Kristen and what Kristen felt. She doesn't even want to hear it. She wants to fall asleep and not hear it. So she was being honest, but do you guys think that there should have been a little more empathy to it? And also, do you feel like Heather was in the right by doing what she did and expressing how Kristen felt?
I think Heather instigated it. She instigated it by bringing up the fact that Kristen was upset about this. I just want to tell you, it's like, oh no, don't do that. Don't say that. It's only going to piss her off. And I think that set Bethenny off. And considering they had already just had the conversation about, I shortened your name to Beth. That's okay, right? People call you B. Do you want me to call you B? Do you want me to call you Beth? And she's like, I don't care. Whatever you want to do. It just doesn't matter. So I could tell she was already annoyed with that. Then the Kristen thing got brought up. She was even more annoyed with that and was like, I'm going to fall asleep. And then it just, I feel like it got worse. And she wasn't very nice about it, but I would have been annoyed with Heather for doing that too. I felt like she was just trying to be drama.
Do you think that she should have, do you think that, because I still want to know what you guys thought, but I want to further question for you. Did you feel that at some point Bethenny should have do you feel like Bethenny was trying to let Heather know, like, you're not allowed to try to make drama in this scene right now? Because it kind of felt like last week too, where she was like, it seems like whenever Bethenny notices that someone wants to like create drama for the cameras, she's like, no.
She shuts down.
Yeah, it was just kind of weird, because don't you think that she should have, in a sense, been like, okay, I get it. Like, at some point, I get this is not like an actual real conversation. We are in front of cameras.
Yeah,
interesting. I think you're right about that whole thing. I didn't catch on to that. But yeah, maybe that's exactly what Bethenny's doing. Maybe she wants to be the only one who's like, the bitch is back. Yeah, and she shuts down when anyone else tries to stir the pot.
Because when you said that, then the light bulb went off. Yeah, she shut Ramona down, and then last week she did it with Heather, and then this week she did it with Heather again. That she's just like, cutting people off, not participating in the fights.
But are you allowed to?
I think as a cast member, you get to the point where you're just over it, and you just want to not have, because you start to feel like everyone's coming and jumping on your case about something. Because they're wanting that drama, and we want a good show. Yeah. And so at some point you just kind of, and maybe it's the mood Bethenny's in right now, and who knows if she's going to snap at some point. But I think she's just like, you know what? I have a daughter at home. I'm trying to run all these businesses, and I do not need to deal with this right now too.
Very good point.
And if you shut it down, where do they go from there? You take all this drama and stress that you're going to have on your shoulders the whole night, and you just remove it.
That's a really good point. And like you said, she's already done this show before. Been there, done that. I think newer Housewives would be like, oh, this is a scene I can be in. Like,
right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She's the OG there.
Yeah.
Right.
These girls have been there for only 1 season or 2 or 3, and she was in how many and had her own show.
Did you find that happen to you during later seasons where maybe you weren't as, you were like, I'll pick and choose what scenes I'm going to actually speak in?
Well, I mean,
in a sense.
I remember being in parties, like the final parties, because the final parties where they bring all of us together, and you guys see that it's a big whoop-to-do at somebody's house or something. And I just remember thinking, I don't want to be where the cameras are, so I'd watch where the cameras are. And I'd kind of go over to this other group, and I'd make new friends for friends of friends that were there, and I'm just like, I just got to stay away. Because I knew the cameras were eventually going to find me. I knew there was going to be something on my shoulders, so I'm like, okay, let's just go away from the camera.
How many cameras are always? There's a different amount of cameras depending on the type of, like, for something like the small dinner they had with 4 people. Would you say 1 camera, 2 cameras?
For the small dinner, it's only like 2. Yeah, you'll have 1 on each view. Yeah, there's not going to be much. Yeah.
Okay. So 2 cameras, so I can kind of see where she would pick it. She'd be like, you know what, like, this could cause a whole nother thing. But that makes us think now Heather obviously did it for more of a drama reason, maybe, but she doesn't seem like she would do that.
Kristen.
She
like,
does.
She does love her as a friend.
Yes.
But
And
maybe
Heather's
she
not
felt
dramatic.
and maybe she felt like Kristen's going to see this, so let me just like defend her at least once.
Wait, did you just say Heather's not dramatic? Did
I
you
don't think
not
Heather's
see her blow up in the Hamptons last year?
No, but I understand that. No, I get that. But I think that Heather's not dramatic in the sense that she's going to find something to cause chaos. She doesn't want to just cause chaos. If something's already happened, she'll respond dramatically. But I guess what I meant was more like she's not going to just go out of her way to like upset somebody.
She's not the instigator.
Right. And I think
Don't you think she instigated this?
I think she did, but I think she did it like not knowing that it would cause
intentionally.
Not intentionally,
Okay.
exactly. I don't feel like she.
Okay.
If you saw her face, the way Bethenny responded to her, she was like, okay, I was just trying to tell you something so that when you see her in person, you're not going to be blindsided that she's upset. And she was just trying to get a word. She was really shocked. I thought that she thought Bethenny would be like, thank you so much for letting me know. Maybe I shouldn't give her a phone call, but she's dealing with Bethenny, who's like, I don't care.
And it was the second
busy.
time Bethenny's like, I'm falling asleep.
Yeah,
So
it's mean.
insensitive.
Well, it's
It's not
mean.
bad for Heather.
It's mean. Do you guys think that Carol should have jumped in at all? Or do you think that
Carol was like stuffing her face with sugar.
most I've ever seen her eat? She was like steaming so much.
I'm like Carol, where like if there's a tense situation, I cannot get out of there fast enough. I'm like, oh boy, I can't. I would have not said a word. I thought Heather was very ballsy for saying, well, you could have said it this way, you know, and then she was right. Like, where's your sensitivity chip?
Exactly.
She's used to like boardroom honesty, and she's bringing that to her female relationships, which females aren't used to that. So it did not go over well.
I was uncomfortable with the conversation before that where she's like, do you say late husband or...
Yes, I would like to talk. Yes. Okay.
That's rough.
So for anybody listening that maybe missed this, I don't know how you could have missed it, but if you did, Carol talks about her late husband, and Bethenny steps in and says, "We need to come up with another word. You're a writer. Let's remark this word. You should remark or remake the word death basically to like a younger, which makes zero sense. Like a more
Hashtag.
because she said it makes her sound old when she says my late husband, and then she's like, well, you can't say your dead husband. And I mean, Carol kind of Carol's, like I said, Carol's open-minded. She's got that like hippie, like, sure, no judgment zone. So I don't think she was like, excuse me. And Dorinda wasn't either. Dorinda's got that same thing. But did you guys think that, I mean, this is Bethenny once again being Bethenny and just saying what she wants. Do you guys think that there are some times where you just have to kind of not say something, especially when it has to do with someone's husband who's deceased? I mean, can we just leave the word
I think
dead?
that's why they just kind of like let it go, because they didn't want to like continue it anymore, but they didn't shut it down the way Bethenny did, which was insensitive towards Heather. They just didn't really say anything, so it couldn't go any further.
That's true.
She apologized
Exactly.
in the end. She did say like, oh, I think that's probably not nice. Sorry. But it was so awkward. It went too far before that happened. So
It was the right people that she was around. I feel like if Ramona were there, she would have been like, that is so rude. You are so mean.
That is
Like, why would you do
exactly
that?
Yeah, Sonia would have. I think Sonia
Sonia probably would have said something too. So she was lucky to be around the right people at the right time for that moment. But we do find out that Carol's husband was cremated, and his remains are at a church that his father had built in England, and they're ripping the church down, so she needs to go and grab the ashes and bring them back home. I mean, that's
you can't even write that.
I mean, that's what they said. I know. Bethany said that. I know.
Bethany's like, you better write that down in your next book.
Exactly. You really can't write that. And so it's just sad. I can't imagine having to. She probably has to relive a lot of that. And I think it's great she has Adam right now to kind of help her get through that and kind of, you know, give her a sense of like hope and you know, we're gonna go play ping pong later, so you get through this and we'll have fun.
Youthfulness, bringing out the youthfulness.
Exactly. She doesn't have to go home and cry alone. Or I'm sure it's not easy doing that. She has to do that. That's going to be really difficult for her. I give her a lot of credit, though. She's handling it really well. And then we do see, lastly, we see Bethenny trying to give some advice to Dorinda about Hannah, the daughter. Did you think Bethany's advice was good advice? Because she was a little bit harsh again, but like, that's just her voice, and it comes across like she's yelling, but she's not, you know.
If I were Dorinda, I would be like, your daughter's 4 years old. Wait until she's 21 and then tell me how to talk to my 21-year-old. So, yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. Absolutely. Yeah, she kind of did come off as if she almost already had lived the life of having a 21-year-old daughter. So, do you think parents should be able to tell other parents? Do you think parents have the right to go tell other parents, like, you should do it this way?
It's a fine line.
Yeah.
It is a super fine line. There's times you want to hear, and especially if you're the one calling and asking an opinion is one thing, but just saying, oh, you probably shouldn't have done that with your child. Like, it's almost like you don't even go there. You just, or you find a really sugarcoating way to say it.
Yeah, which she doesn't really do that. Once again, though, it's good that she was talking to Dorinda rather than probably Ramona or somebody that would take a lot of defense to that, really become defensive. But that's a very good point. And you have to also just be confident enough to know that, like, you're a good parent. And, like, regardless, like...
And there's 62 ways to parent. It's not one way is the right way. It's like, you could do this in this situation, and then when another mom does it a different way, and then when both kids are 21, they both turn out just fine. And you both raised them going around different corners,
Very good point.
I think it's better left unsaid.
Yeah, I totally agree. So yeah, that was basically it. We had the P1 and the P2. So she says, you got
demoted to
P2. Poor Heather. I mean, that was the line I think that we can end on, and we can start going into predictions because this was a great episode, and do some predictions.
And now your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right, so we will start with Megan.
Okay, so I think it looks like a cocktail party that we're going to be discussing Sonya's new clothing line, and only Bethenny got to go preview it. I think Sonya probably wanted Bethenny's expert, like, businesswoman opinion. Maybe the other girls are jealous that they weren't there because Heather, of course, it seems like is in the middle of this one again next week. So I'm going to say people's egos are hurt. I think Heather thinks she's also an astute businesswoman. Is that a good way to say it?
Absolutely.
And that maybe her feelings are hurt that she wasn't asked for her opinion because she's tried to help Sonya so much in the past with the whole mock-up of the toaster oven and everything. And I'm going to say, I know from the trailer for the whole season we got to see bringing the husband's ashes home.
Yes.
And so maybe that happens next week. I have a very emotional moment for Carol. So maybe that's next week.
That's my prediction, too, because I think I read it somewhere that Dorinda escorts Carol to London to get the ashes, and that's where they bond over being two widows. So, yeah, that's my prediction, too, which isn't really my prediction because I read it. And there's more John fallout where he's got his hands all over grabbing some other girl, so...
Grabbing Sonya,
I think it was Sonya, yeah.
Oh, I didn't recognize her.
Yeah. I was going to say, I thought so. I was like, wow, now maybe I shouldn't have said I like John. Maybe I don't.
In all honesty, I don't think the girls really have any reason to be upset with Sonya not inviting them since they all kind of made fun of her at the reunion last year. And Bethenny is the only one who really wasn't involved with this. So to bring Bethenny along as a new perspective, I think is probably a good idea. I'm a little surprised she didn't invite Ramona as well since they're close. But I don't think the ladies should really be all that upset because they kind of made fun of her. But once again, this is another venture that they kind of said, wait, are you guys in talks? Are there actual orders? And they can't answer this. And we know the toaster oven never really came out. So is it going to exist in 6 months from now? Maybe
Time
not.
will tell. I think you guys covered everything, so Alexis and I could not even predict if we wanted to. There's nothing left. But before we end this, I just want to know, overall, where can people stay in touch with you, Alexis? And do you have, like, your website, whatever you want to tell them?
I'm still Alexis _Bellino as my Instagram.
Okay.
And then, Alexis.
So popular.
There's a tweet right there.
There you go. You got her.
That's a quick one.
And then... Twitter's Alexis _Bellino, and then Facebook is Alexis Bellino.
Facebook, love it. What about MySpace? What about your MySpace? I'm married. I'm kidding. You don't have MySpace. Did you ever have MySpace?
Never. I never had any of those.
All right.
Do you girls?
We used to have MySpace. Probably.
Tinder. I heard Tinder's the new thing.
I don't have Tinder.
I have a boyfriend, so I don't Tinder.
Yeah, I'm married guy.
Okay, great.
I watch my friends do it. It's fascinating now. I was like, can I go on your phone for you?
I can't even. Oh my gosh. And if you guys want to log on to our YouTube as well, just let us know what you thought of tonight's episode and, give us some of your predictions as well. And Megan, where can we find you?
Yes, on Twitter and Instagram at Megan Stecher.
It's Fernie here. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Fern Ronay.
And you've got Lyndsey here. You guys can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Lyndsey Wegner, or my blog, lyndseywegner.blogspot.com.
Awesome. You know where you can find Alexis. And you can find me, Ashley Daniels, at Twitter at Ashley Daniels and Instagram at Miss Ashley Daniels. And we love you guys so much. Next week, we have a huge guest. It's Kristen Takeman, May 5th, everybody. She will be here with us. So we're so excited to get her perspective because we didn't get a lot of her tonight in the episode. So hopefully next week, we've been lucky last season. We'd get the people on or call them the night that the actual episode had a lot to do with them. So it's great. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.